right here just for a second.
Okay.
I'm trying to find them again.
And
Jay.
oh, okay. Wait, did I get that?
You just love the
Okay.
irony in it, don't you?
What's that?
We
Love the irony in
are.
it, don't you?
Just get my bearings again. Okay. This is Lafayette, and this is what we see in the distance here is the Acme, one of the Acme industrial sites. And do you recall what they manufactured there?
I don't, but I do know that recently there was an RFP put on. As a matter of fact, the city practically couldn't give the building away, but it was because there's a requirement that you do something that's beneficial to the community when it comes out, and that the community have a voice and input in what it ends up being. And I don't remember the group that ended up with it. They obviously haven't done anything with it yet, but I know that some of the things that they're talking about are senior center and some of the which in these areas there's a, at least a high desire from seniors to have a nice place where it's not a little boxy room, and so that's some of what's being talked about. It would be nice if some young person who were in college might be able to tell us what they actually do.
No pressure, right? One of the things that I mentioned earlier, I tried to look for some statistics, and one of the things I was really interested in is with so much vacant property kind of glaring at you, it's hard to get an idea of who is in the community. What does that demographic look like? How does it compare to the rest of the city? So I did print out some. These are by no means, the golden, anything, but it was some helpful information, just I guess to frame the context of who's here. So I'm going to pass that out.
I can do it.
Oh, you got it? Okay, thank you. Actually, let me get that first one that was on top. Yeah, that was me. Thank you.
That's your notes.
Yeah. And this information I gathered, and it's available online, so you can certainly pull it and do other queries than what I've done, and and it's citywide. It's not based on any particular singular neighborhood. It's citywide, and really what it shows here, they have a color version, but I couldn't afford to make as many color copies. So what the first one is showing is the population density throughout the city, and most of this information is based off of the 2000 census. So as you know, the 2010 census is coming up. It's very important for Baltimore in particular, just in general. And one of the things that I thought was very interesting, if you look in the key, population age 16 to 64, and that very last item, which is I guess the most opaque, is the greatest population density. And what I did is I dropped the star on the map of the approximate location of where we are in terms of the city. And what you'll see is this is a very densely populated area. And I was actually surprised at how densely populated it is, given what you see in terms of vacancy. I guess that speaks something to the other areas that have even more vacancy. But you can see that this is a very densely populated area for ages 16 to 64. And if you go to the next page, page 2, it's looking at total households in the area. And again, very densely populated in terms of households. And the third page, and you can kind of go through this at your leisure, I just wanted to kind of give you, just some context. Family households with related children. And again, very densely populated with families in this area. And so, it's kind of indicative of the types of people that moved here. People moved their families here. They worked, lived, and played here, and it's still that way. A lot of people have to travel further now for jobs, unfortunately. But there was one other one that I wanted to get to. Yes. And that is the sheets 4 and 5, which is where they do kind of the distributions by age. So the first one we have is age 65 and over, so our seniors. And we have a fair share of the seniors living in this area, and compared to other parts of the city. And when you go to the next one, which is 25 to 44, which I consider the working class age, the workforce, not so much. Not so much. And that, I think, in my own opinion, has a lot to do with in terms of vacancy. This age group, which is kind of I guess the foundation for communities, they're having families, they're purchasing homes, They're staying in their homes. They're not as transient typically. They're not as well represented in some of these communities. And I'm always amazed when I go to some of these community meetings, or even in my own community, how few people in my age group, and I'm in my late 20s, are there. It's seniors, and that's pretty much who you will see represented. And they're very active, very committed. But that key 25 to 44 group is mostly in the county.
And that goes a little bit back to what I was saying in class about the need for the younger educated population to sort of come in and help revitalize neighborhoods. Because I think that gap speaks volumes. That's the working. Those are the people most likely to be in the middle class. Those are the people most likely to, one, be demanding better services, and two, help to bring those services to the community. So, where I'm amazed at the numbers here in terms of the amount of population here. I'm also impressed with that. But I also think that there's something to be said for the fact that you're missing the middle, and the middle is really where the vibrancy is in pretty much everything. I should say in my age group too, sort of the nuclear family population.
Yes.
That's an important demographic too, because that really is where demand for schools and grocery stores and things like that come from. So.
And we will get a little bit into how many schools and other things are in this area. It's a little mind-boggling, actually, how many there are. And a lot of them are on the west side of the train tracks. But one of the things that I've noticed, even in my own neighborhood, is that the seniors, once they, most of them are on fixed income too. So they have limited resources in terms of maintaining the properties, and that's been a challenge in getting them access to grants and things like that too, because these properties take a lot to maintain. But then not only that, when they pass on, there's no one to take that property, or no one who wants to take the responsibility of that property. And so that's a lot of how some of these properties have become vacant. It's not always an absentee landlord, but the family doesn't have somebody who has the resources or the will to really maintain that property. And so it just kind of gets, it goes into disrepair. So we're going to walk across the bridge, and